I had never believed a simple wooden door could destroy someone's sanity, but that belief broke the day I moved into the small rented house on Alder Street, a quiet neighborhood where each house looked pale and tired like they had been watching people for decades, and the landlord had warned me only about one thing: don't mind the old storage door at the end of the hallway. It doesn't open anymore. A casual warning spoken too quickly, almost nervously, as if he hoped I wouldn't question him. And I didn't, at least not then, because I was desperate for a cheap place to stay after my last apartment caught fire because of a wiring issue. So I moved in, set my bags down, and tried to ignore the strange way the hallway felt colder the closer I got to that old door. A tall, narrow, dark brown frame with rusted hinges and no visible lock, yet something about it felt wrong, like it was watching me or listening. And the strangest part was that no matter what time of day it was, that single spot remained unsettlingly dark, as if light itself refused to go near it. And on my very first night, I heard it, the slow, dragging creak of the door opening somewhere behind me while I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth. But when I walked out to check, the hallway was normal, silent, undisturbed, and the door was tightly shut, looking as though it hadn't moved in years. I shrugged it off. But the sound came again half an hour later while I was getting ready for bed, that same creaking noise, long and heavy like the sound of wood twisting after decades of pressure, and though I rushed into the hallway instantly, the door remained closed, untouched, and unnervingly still. But I could have sworn it was slightly more ajar than before, maybe just half an inch, maybe less. It was the kind of detail you're unsure you saw or imagined, but the feeling in my stomach was unmistakable. Something with eyes was waiting behind it. The second night was worse. I had set up my tiny home office in the living room and was typing on my laptop when I heard the door creak open again. Only this time I didn't look immediately, because a horrifying curiosity whispered inside me, what if it only opens when no one is watching? So, heart racing, I stayed still, listening, pretending I hadn't noticed, and the sound continued, a slow, old hinge dragging open, then a thump, like something heavy shifting inside the room, followed by a faint, slow breathing, not human breathing but something deeper, thicker, like air being pulled through a hollow pipe. I didn't dare turn around yet, but when the breathing stopped suddenly, I spun my head toward the hallway, and once again the door was completely shut, sealed shut like always. No crack, no gap, no opening, but the hallway felt wrong, as if someone had been standing there just a second ago, watching me, waiting for me to look away again. I walked toward the door slowly, every step sending chills up my legs, and when I finally reached it, I placed my hand on the wood. It was warm, warmer than the rest of the hallway, almost like human skin, and when I pulled my hand away, I nearly screamed because the warmth lingered on my palm like a pulse. On the third night I set a trap. I placed a small object, a glass marble, right against the bottom of the door so if it moved even slightly, the marble would roll away and alert me. Then I sat in the living room pretending to scroll on my phone, waiting, listening, breathing as slowly as possible, and after almost an hour, it happened. The faint sound of wood shifting, then the long dragging creak, and then, roll. The marble rolled across the wooden floor, fast, as if someone had kicked it, and it didn't just roll a little, it flew all the way to my feet, hit my slipper, and stopped. I froze in pure terror, staring at the dark hallway without moving a muscle, and then I saw it, not the door opening, but a hand, pale and bony, slipping silently back under the crack of the door, retreating into the darkness behind it, and the sight was so impossible, so unnatural, that my breath caught in my throat. I grabbed my phone's flashlight and ran toward the door, shining the light straight at it, but the door was closed again, sealed tight, the crack too small for even a coin, and there was no hand now, nothing but silence and the faint echo of the rolling marble still ringing in my ears. I should have left then, but I didn't. I convinced myself it was my imagination. Maybe I was stressed, maybe I was hallucinating because of sleep deprivation, but the truth revealed itself 2 nights later when I recorded the hallway with my phone camera set on a table facing the door while I pretended to sleep on the couch. Around 2:47 a.m., the creaking started, and I kept my eyes closed, pretending to be asleep. But my heart hammered in my chest as I waited for the sound to stop. At sunrise, I grabbed my phone, opened the recording, and what I saw made my blood freeze completely. The door opened wide at exactly 2:47 a.m., silently, smooth as water pouring down a glass, and a tall figure stepped out, not walking but gliding, its limbs too long, its neck bent sideways like it had broken long ago, and its head tilted back so far its face pointed at the ceiling, and then, it crawled on all fours toward me, joints cracking backward. moving in jerks like a broken puppet, and worst of all, when it reached the couch where I was lying, it leaned its head over my sleeping body, sniffing me like an animal, its long fingers hovering inches above my throat. Then suddenly, it snapped its head upright, stood to its full impossible height, and glided back into the storage room, pulling the door shut gently behind itself. But the moment the door closed, the camera glitched violently, turning the screen black for 2 seconds. I dropped the phone, sweat poured down my face, I couldn't breathe, every instinct screamed run, leave, escape. But something stronger pulled me toward the hallway, fear mixed with a horrifying need to know what was behind that door, what lived there, what had been coming out every night while I slept. But when I reached the hallway, the air turned icy, and I felt something move behind the door, a slow, cold presence pressing against the wood, almost as if it were leaning its head against it. Listening to my breaths, I stepped back slowly, but the door suddenly rattled violently once, twice, then stopped entirely, going dead quiet. More silent than anything I had ever experienced, and I knew then, whatever lived inside didn't want me looking, it wanted me unaware, sleeping, vulnerable. The next morning I called the landlord, demanding answers, and he sounded terrified just hearing which door I was talking about. He told me no one had used that room since 1984. After a family disappeared, parents, 3 kids, even the dog, vanished overnight without a trace. The police found the house empty, except for that storage door, which had been opened just a crack, and on the floor were long drag marks leading inside. But no one had ever been brave enough to step in. He begged me to move out immediately, but I wasn't ready to run. I wanted proof, something to help me understand what had almost touched my throat in the middle of the night. So that evening, I made the worst decision of my life. I stood in front of the door and waited with my back turned, giving it the chance it always took, letting it believe I wasn't watching. The hallway grew colder, the shadows seemed to stretch, and then, I heard it, the soft click of the latch, then the gentle exhale of air, like someone sighing after being trapped for too long, and I felt it before I saw anything, a presence stepping out slowly. Silently, its breath brushing the back of my neck, its fingers almost grazing my shoulder. My entire body froze, but I didn't turn around, because I knew if I did, I wouldn't survive. After a full minute, the breathing stopped, and the air grew warmer again. I ran into my room, slammed the door shut, and stayed awake until sunrise. The final night, because yes, there was a final night, I made one last mistake. I fell asleep by accident. I don't know how long I slept, but I woke to the sound of breathing, not mine, not human, but low, guttural, coming from inches above my face. When my eyes opened, what I saw was worse than any nightmare. Its face was inches from mine, upside down, hanging from the ceiling like a spider, its neck bent backward, its mouth wide open in a silent scream, its eyes black as tar. It dropped onto the bed with a sickening thud, pinning me down with limbs that bent in impossible angles, and its face pressed against mine, nearly touching. Its breath was ice, its skin like rotting paper, and its whisper, God, its whisper, was like 1,000 voices speaking at once. You looked. I don't know how I escaped. I only remember waking up on the roadside at sunrise, trembling, barefoot, covered in dust and scratches. The house behind me stood silent, every window black, and the hallway door, I swear I saw it, slowly closed on its own as if satisfied. I never went back. Sometimes, though, when I pass old houses or dark hallways, I hear it again, the soft creak of a door opening when no one is looking, and I know it's still searching for me, still angry that I broke its one rule. Because that door doesn't just want to be unseen. It wants someone to take with it. And it remembers the ones who looked. If you want.